Episode 10 Sleepless and Ranbajpur. Occasionally in Yogananda's Autobiography, we learn of remarkable experiences and events that resist being debunked, since they touch upon the wonderful plasticity of the human body-mind and what can be achieved by ardent meditation and yogic practice. The story of the sleepless saint is quite phenomenal, but more believable than one might at first suspect, especially if one is conversant with long hours of interior contemplation and what it can engender. "Young yogi, I see you are running away from your master. He has everything you need. You must return to him. Mountains cannot be your guru." Ram Gopal was repeating the same thought which Sri Yukteswar had expressed at our last meeting. Masters are under no cosmic compulsion to limit their residence. My companion glanced at me quizzically. The Himalayas in India and Tibet have no monopoly on saints. What one does not trouble to find within will not be discovered by transporting the body hither and yon. As soon as the devotee is willing to go even to the ends of the earth for spiritual enlightenment, his guru appears nearby. I silently agreed, recalling my prayer in the Benares hermitage, followed by the meeting with Sri Yukteswar in a crowded lane. "Are you able to have a little room where you can close the door and be alone?" Yes, I reflected that this saint descended from the general to the particular with disconcerting speed. "That is your cave." The yogi bestowed on me a gaze of illumination which I have never forgotten. "That is your sacred mountain. That is where you will find the kingdom of God." His simple words instantaneously banished my lifelong obsession for the Himalayas. In a burning paddy field, I awoke from the multicolous dreams of eternal snows. "Young sir, your divine thirst is laudable. I feel great love for you." Ram Gopal took my hand and led me to a quaint hamlet. The adobe houses were covered with coconut leaves and adorned with rustic entrances. The saint seated me on the umbrageous bamboo platform of his small cottage. After giving me sweetened lime juice and a piece of rock candy, he entered his patio and assumed the lotus posture. In about 4 hours I opened my meditative eyes and saw that the moonlit figure of the yogi was still motionless. As I was sternly reminding my stomach that man does not live by bread alone, Ram Gopal approached me. "I see you are famished. Food will be ready soon." A fire was kindled under a clay oven on the patio. Rice and dal were quickly served on large banana leaves. My host courteously refused my aid in all cooking chores. "The guest is God." A Hindu proverb has commanded devout observance from time immemorial. In my later world travels, I was charmed to see that a similar respect for visitors is manifested in rural sections of many countries. The city dweller finds the keen edge of hospitality blunted by superabundance of strange faces. The marts of men seemed remotely dim as I squatted by the yogi in the isolation of the tiny jungle village. The cottage room was mysterious with a mellow light. Ram Gopal arranged some torn blankets on the floor for my bed and seated himself on a straw mat. Overwhelmed by his spiritual magnetism, I ventured a request. "Sir, why don't you grant me a samadhi?" "Dear one, I would be glad to convey the divine contact, but it is not my place to do so." The saint looked at me with half-closed eyes. "Your master will bestow that experience shortly. Your body is not tuned just yet. As a small lamp cannot withstand excessive electrical voltage, so your nerves are unready for the cosmic current. If I gave you the infinite ecstasy right now, you would burn as if every cell were on fire." "You are asking illumination from me," the yogi continued musingly, "while I am wondering, inconsiderable as I am, and with the little meditation I have done, if I have succeeded in pleasing God, and what worth I may find in his eyes at the final reckoning. Sir, have you not been single-heartedly seeking God for a long time?" "I have not done much. Bihari must have told you something of my life." For 20 years, I occupied a secret grotto meditating 18 hours a day. Then I moved to a more inaccessible cave and remained there for 25 years, entering the Yoga Union for 20 hours daily. I did not sleep, for I was ever with God. My body was more rested in the complete calmness of the superconsciousness than it could be by the partial peace of the ordinary subconscious state. The muscles relax during sleep, but the heart, lungs, and circulatory system are constantly at work. They get no rest. In superconsciousness, the internal organs remain in a state of suspended animation, electrified by the cosmic energy, by which means I have found it unnecessary to sleep for years. This will come when you too will dispense with sleep. My goodness, you have meditated for so long and yet are unsure of the Lord's favor? I gazed at him in astonishment. Then what about us poor mortals? Well, don't you see, my dear boy, that God is eternity itself? To assume that one can fully know him by 45 years of meditation is rather a preposterous expectation. Babaji assures us, however, that even a little meditation saves one from the dire fear of death and after-death states. So do not fix your spiritual ideal on a small mountain, but hitch it to the star of unqualified divine attainment. If you work hard, you will get there. Enthralled by the prospect, I asked him for further enlightening words. He related a wondrous story of his first meeting with Lahiri Mahasaya's guru, Babaji. Around midnight, Ram Gopal fell into silence, and I lay down on my blankets. Closing my eyes, I saw flashes of lightning. The vast space within me was a chamber of molten light. I opened my eyes and observed the same dazzling radiance. The room became a part of that infinite vault which I beheld with interior vision. Why don't you go to sleep? Sir, how can I sleep in the presence of lightning, blazing, whether my eyes are shut or open? You are blessed to have this experience. The spiritual radiations are not easily seen. The saint added a few words of affection. At dawn, Ram Gopal gave me rock candies and said I must depart. I felt such reluctance to bid him farewell that tears coursed down my cheeks. I will not let you go empty-handed, the yogi spoke tenderly. I will do something for you. He smiled and looked at me steadfastly. I stood rooted to the ground, peace rushing like a mighty flood through the gates of my eyes. I was instantaneously healed of a pain in my back which had troubled me intermittently for years. Renewed, bathed in a sea of luminous joy, I wept no more. After touching the saint's feet, I sauntered into the jungle, making my way through its tropical tangle until I reached Tarakeswar. There I made a second pilgrimage to the famous shrine and prostrated myself fully before the altar. The round stone enlarged before my inner vision until it became the cosmical spheres, ring within ring, zone after zone, all dowered with divinity. I entrained happily an hour later for Calcutta. My travels ended, not in the lofty mountains, but in the Himalayan presence of my master. Skeptical analysis. Meditation works wonders, but such wonders are scientifically verifiable and don't necessitate a radically new paradigm to understand why. In previous chapters, I have questioned Yogananda's magniloquent lace stories because they cater to credulous readers who are not well acquainted with a religious world filled with charlatans who pass off their hocus-pocus antics as if they were the real deal. But in this chapter, where he discusses meeting Ram Gopal, a so-called sleepless saint, my apparetic antennae is partially disarmed. Why? Because it is not out of the realm of possibility and probability that a yogi steeped in meditation can forego sleep as we know it. While it is certainly true that sleep is necessary for human survival, this elemental need can be met by those who have the ability to penetrate deeply within their own consciousness. When one is absorbed in contemplation, it can, at various stages, include parts of the sleep cycle to such a degree that one can remain fully conscious, even while the dream world brilliantly manifests all around. While deep meditation can at differing levels be likened to lucid dreaming, it is a step beyond that, since one doesn't lose awareness during the process but is fully awake within, even as the body goes through its biochemical modulations. At first, this may seem parapsychological or outside of the ken of neuroscience, but this is not the case at all. Indeed, even atheistic, agnostic neuroscientists, such as Sam Harris, know from their own personal adventures in this area that the mind-body complex can undergo amazing transformations during prolonged meditational practices. It is for this reason that even the most reductionistic of academic institutions, such as MIT, have pioneered a number of remarkable studies on the effects that meditation can have on the brain. Paradoxically, research has shown that meditation can increase melatonin levels within the body, which are conducive for longer sleep cycles. While smaller periods of meditation can be helpful for those suffering from insomnia, it can also benefit those who meditate for much longer stretches of time, since they too sleep, but without losing awareness. They get the chemical benefits that accompany sleep without being completely knocked out and lost in dream landscapes. Of course, we don't know for certain whether Ram Gopal always went without sleep. We are, lest we forget, relying on second-hand reports. But we do know that it is possible, provided that deep meditation facilitates and allows the biochemical showering that is vital for normal human functioning. Simply put, certain forms of deep meditation include sleep cycles during the process, even if one retains a keen sense of lucidity throughout. Ram Gopal, using religious language but which have biochemical reference, explains why he didn't need sleep, since he was getting a much longer-lasting rest via meditation. As he pointed out to Yogananda, my body was more rested in the complete calmness of the superconsciousness than it could be by the partial peace of the ordinary subconscious state. The muscles relax during sleep, but the heart, lungs, and circulatory system are constantly at work. They get no rest. In superconsciousness, the internal organs remain in a state of suspended animation, electrified by the cosmic energy. By such means I have found it unnecessary to sleep for years. Interestingly, when Ram Gopal made these claims, the scientific world hadn't yet fully explored what meditation had to offer. In the past 2 decades, remarkable strides have been made to give credence to some of the more outrageous claims made by Tibetan and Indian yogis for centuries. Jolene Creighton, writing for Microscope, has summarized some of the more remarkable scientific findings about meditation and its impact on the body-brain. 1. In a study published in Clinical Psychology Review, researchers at Boston University and Harvard Medical School found that the technique helps alleviate anxiety and allows individuals to better cope with stressful situations. 2. Dr. Fidel Zidan, assistant professor of neurobiology and anatomy at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center, found that meditation helps individuals cope with and better tolerate physical pain. This work was published in the Journal of Neuroscience. 3. In a 2015 study published in Frontiers in Psychology, researchers from UCLA found that individuals who meditate over extended periods have more gray matter volume in their brains than those that do not. The work looked at individuals who have been meditating for an average of 20 years, and the impact was pronounced. 4. A 2011 study in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, which was conducted by Yale University, discovered that meditation decreases activity in the default mode network, DMN, in the brain. In the paper, the team noted that this reveals the actual biological impact of meditation and helps bring to light a unique understanding of possible neuromechanisms of meditation. 5. Sarah Lazar, a neuroscientist at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School, recently conducted work which found that individuals who meditate ultimately have more gray matter in the frontal cortex, and most notably, that this gray matter is preserved in spite of aging. The significance is overwhelming, as Lazar asserts in an interview with the Washington Post. It's well documented that our cortex shrinks as we get older. It's harder to figure things out and remember things. But in this one region of the prefrontal cortex, 50-year-old meditators have the same amount of gray matter as 25-year-olds. 6. Scientists assert that using proprioceptive input, also known as deep touch pressure, DTP, to ground your body is helpful when attempting to reach a meditative state. Research has shown that this kind of pressure results in a reduction in cortisol levels and an increase in serotonin production, decreasing your heart rate and blood pressure. Thus, the relaxed physical state that comes from proprioceptive input can make it easier to achieve a calm mental state that's conducive to meditation, and one of the most effective ways to get this proprioceptive input is by using a weighted blanket. As Amber Martin, an occupational therapist from Utica College, notes, proprioceptive input is good for pretty much everyone and anyone. It can be very calming and organizing. By helping you reach a state of peaceful relaxation more quickly, the blankets make it easier for you to take advantage of every valuable moment of meditation before you have to return to the busy world outside your mind. 7. There's little debate in the science regarding the benefits of meditation. According to research published in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology, meditation has been linked to reduced feelings of depression, anxiety, and physical pain. On a more personal note, I have been a Shabd yoga meditator for the past 40-plus years, and I have noticed that prolonged hours of meditation have allowed me to sleep much less than before and still feel just as rested, if not more invigorated. Furthermore, I observed that after 4 straight hours of meditation, and as one gets sleepy, one becomes keenly aware of the hypnagogic transitional state, which precedes deep sleep and REM dreaming. All sorts of phantasmagorical images come alive, and if one can retain awareness, then these give way to a series of dream revelries. Usually we witness these unconsciously and without a keen sense of awareness. But if one meditates proficiently and skillfully, one has the ability to remain conspicuous to what is arising. I can personally attest that such a possibility is not merely academic, since I, too, have had moments where meditation allows one a portal into the dream world without losing self-awareness. Ram Gopal's account, though sounding unbelievable at first, is actually attainable, at least to some degree, by almost anyone well-versed in the practice of deep meditation. In other words, yoga and neuroscience are not strange bedfellows.